We're gonna, as Hashem is Burach, start the series of halachas with such theme with kashrus. So we're gonna start Hashem with Hilchas Chala. Hashem will get to Bas Hakim, Bishul Hakim, Cholav Hakim, Tfilas Kailam, B'dikas Teluam, all the things which has to do with the unique kashrus, which is important on a daily basis, and the whole tahar of the Shomas Yisrael is totally in the unique kashrus. So we're going to start now with the Indian of Chala, which will also take a couple of shiurim, because there's a lot of complicated halachas. The Ramur writes in Hilchas Shabbos, Sitmar Reish Mem Beis, the minig is that you should bake chalas erev Shabbos. Kedai shir chala, you should have the shir chala. And the reason is because the Yerushalmi says, Odem Arishan, he was called Chala, Chalus Shel Olam. He was Chala, Tohira, and Chava, Imenu, Chava was Goyrem, that she, Misla Olam, that he died. So therefore, the Torah gave her the mitzvah of Afroshas Chala to be a tik of Chalus Shel Olam. It's a lotion, he calls her Chalus Shel Olam, and therefore she got three mitzvahs, which is Chala, and Nida, and Hadlukas Aner. By the way, now this year is 50 years from Mivtza Neshek. Poshet is in sich zu kochen and Hadlukas Aner. And it's interesting, as the Rishonim write, as the reason why Chana, the Agus Maimonides writes, mitzvah, the Lushan Azoi, the mitzvah Chala is Gedoyle, v'chashiva, v'chaviva. The Marin Omri Rabbeinu, our sages said, the world was created b'shvil three things. And one of the things is b'shvil Chala. Because it says in Pasuk, Barashis Boru Elikim, b'shvil Barashis, so we know b'shvil Torah, b'shvil Yisrael, and b'shvil Chala, shenikra Rashis, as the Torah says, Rashis are Yisasayichem Chala Tarimi. And the mitzvah beitzim is also amen. But it was given specifically for women, because, again, as we mentioned before in Yerushalmi, because she made that Chalosa Shel Olam should pass away. And therefore, Zugdar Gus Maimonides, the husband is Mechiev to learn, teach his wife, and children should know Hilchas Chala, and they should know exactly, should do it according to halacha. It's interesting that the Ramur writes that, as I mentioned before, you should bake challah erev Shabbos. Why dafke erev Shabbos? Is bepashtus, you should have fresh challahs. But there's another reason also why. There's another reason because it says, since Adam Rishon was created in erev Shabbos, they sinned erev Shabbos, so therefore the mitzvah of challah is dafke erev Shabbos. And the Achronim have a whole challah. You need to do challah, and you should have the shir. A person which has a small family, he doesn't bake a shir challah. Is it rather he should bake every Friday without a shir challah, you should have fresh challah, the Kuvit Shabbos? Or it's rather you should bake once in 2 weeks, once in 3 weeks, in order you should be able to make the bracha of fresh challah, the kedina, and not have the fresh challah. It does Hashmis and Achroinim, what's better? Aber Akapurim is doing Indian as Erev Shabbos and Mabakin Chala, and it should be in the Shir Chala, in order to be masaking the inyonim of Chet Eitz Adas. Shkoyach. Now, and the halachas has to be learned thoroughly, because we want to do the mitzvah as proper as we could do, and sometimes we do the mitzvah and we don't do the mitzvah, basically. Sometimes we don't know the halachas, we don't do the mitzvah. What happens? It's kind of oskimen that we have things which is tevel, because we thought, let's say we took a thing which is not, mechiv echala was less than a shir, yeah? For instance, and then, after a while, you put it in the freezer, as we get, when you get to the next shirim too, you go to put it in the freezer, put it in one bag, with 3 weeks in a row, you bake cookies, for instance. Cookies, less than a shir, you're ready to make challah. But then you put it back in a bag together, you do tzirav challah, tzirav, and so that's tzirav all the tag. Now we have a shir, and you don't take challah, it's with the table. So you're over of table. And other things, you could always have things that you could do, and you're over of a serum. And not only that, today's date is a very famous thing, there's challah baking. Challah baking. Women come together, they make challah. And there's etliche mul, which I had shilas from shlichem, and man gemacht challah baking, man gemacht brochele batulas. Because every lady made a challah, on the, and less than the shear, or they made one big shear, and they gave for everybody a piece of challah. There's a lot of halachas we're going to see, as mechanish challah. So you make a brocha lebatola, and as mechanish become in the mitzvah. So therefore you gather know the halachas of challah, because if you want to be masakin chalus shaloilim, you have to do it properly, and mekayim on the mitzvah, and therefore we have to go through the halachas properly, as we said after Zan. Okay, so let's start with the beginning of the halachas. First the basic, and then the next shir more a little bit more complicated. There's a lot of complicated halachas, which is tziraf, and which is if you forgot a lot of things. We should get to that. But again, let's just go through the basic in wichtige halachas of challah. In the Torah steht in Bamidbar in Shalach, Dabre b'nai Yisrael v'amart alayim b'vayachem el ha'oretz. When you come to Eretz Yisrael, Ashrani mai v'eschem shama, which I will bring you to Eretz Yisrael. When you come into Eretz Yisrael, you bake chalas, you have to take trima la Hashem. Is already, we know, as Chazal Darshanan, shoyne biyazim mekol biyaz hachayres, daf chala you have to do right away. Although some halachas only started after 14 years, Sheva, 7 years which they conquered Eretz Yisrael, 7 years when they divided Eretz Yisrael, but this you have to do right away. You come in Eretz Yisrael, you have to give challah. Then the pasuk says further, Raishis arisas haichem, challah trimu ketrimas goyin, kein trimu gamatam. So Chazal darshan that when you make a isa, a dough from the chameshes minadogim, at the amount which you used to get in the midbar, which we know in midbar, v'oimer asir su'aifa, you had the shear of Asiris Haifa. So when you make it at Yisrael, this halacha, this amount of dough, which is Asiris Haifa, which you're going to get to the shear soon, but I can put them, then you have to take challah. But Chazal, and this is one of the 24 mataskin is giving challah. You have to give it for a coin, and it's his. Now we also start b'vayachem. You come to Eretz Yisrael. Ham Chazal gelernt. It has to be the same way as you came to Eretz Yisrael the first time. The first time Klal Yisrael came into Eretz Yisrael, Gams Klal Yisrael came together at one time. So when is Mamachiev min HaTorah to take challah? When all of Klal Yisrael, Bias Kilchem, go to Eretz Yisrael. That means only when Klal Yisrael, like when it came into Eretz Yisrael the first time, or like we are going to be, in Yetz Hashem, and Mashiach will come, B'mahayre B'mayne Mamish, then you are mechiv to be challah. That's min HaTorah. So therefore, nowadays when Eretz Yisrael does not live Bias Kilchem, it is not min HaTorah. According to Rav Rishonim, the Rav Halt, nicht so, but according to Rav Rishonim, is even in Eretz Yisrael, today's day is challah is not adrabunan. It's not adrabunan because it's not Bias Kilchem. So what? Oh. I'm going to get to it now. But that's why I'm asking also, if you have questions, leave it. But what is if Far Mashiach will come, when majority will go to Eretz Yisrael, steht auch in Chazal, it's still not going to be a daraisa, because it has to be Bias Kilchem, kemoi, also wie Yerisha Rishoina, also wie das Yerisha Shlisha. That means only when you call Yeshua Yoleyu, you must strict Zitay and Eretz Yisrael. So till Mashiach will come, it's not according to Rav Rishonim, it is not a mitzvahs as a daraisa, it's only a drabona. That's an Eretz Yisrael. Then Chazal was moisev another thing. Not only in Eretz Yisrael you should give challah, also in Chizlur you should give challah. Why? Shleiti teures challah me Yisrael. Since as min HaTorah there is no challah, till Mashiach will come, we are afraid to forget the whole mitzvah of challah. So Chazal said, not only we made the chiyuv in Eretz Yisrael, we added on also a chitz leuretz is also the halacha that you have to give challah och med rabunim. But there is still a different Eretz Yisrael to united to chitz leuretz. Why? Although both are min rabunim, but there's a chilik because in Eretz Yisrael is the mitzvah esse deraisa. Se fehlt hat mai wie es kilchem, but Eretz Yisrael is a deraisa. Chizlur is a bachral du kam mitzvah esse deraisa. Chizlur is a juda mitzvah. So therefore, there's a big chilik Eretz Yisrael mit America legaba even both adrabon. For instance, I'll give you a marshal. For instance, we have the Chanaf community, which I assume some will know. There's a locha shechanurich that if a person comes Shabbat, he cannot give challah in Shabbos. Because you can, same as Trimmer and Meiser, you cannot give Meiser on Shabbos, you cannot give Trimmer and Meiser. Comes Shabbos, you didn't take Trimmer and Meiser, you cannot take it on Shabbos, because it's misaken. When you take it off, automatically you misaken the food, you can eat it now. So that's tikkun chazal megasat, but tunish geben Trimmer and Meiser challah in Shabbos. Comes a person, forgot to take challah, wife baked challah, boom, ze chapt zich, kann ich geben challah. It's a Friday night, what should I do? Comes a little bit to the roof, ratik tzanacht, walks over, what should I do? I have challah, I don't know what to eat, what should I do? His halacha is that in chitz le'uras, there's halacha, you could eat regularly the challas. Even if you didn't take challah, but you have to leave a part of the challah, which, machloik a poskim, if you have to leave two kazaisim, or kazais v'oit. Some points will say kazais v'oit, that means the halacha is you cannot take a whole challah for challah. You have to leave challah, you take off from something else. So if you have you could give a full challah for challah, but you have to leave a tiny drop that you're taking it off from that piece. It's an afrosh challah. So steiten halacha, you eat the whole challah which you have, but you leave over a kazayas v'mashi. That means you should be able to take off kazayas for challah and leave a mashi which is nistaken geworden. Or, so according to other poskim, in Rishonim, you have to leave two kazayas and they should stay also a ganze kazayas. And then it's good to go. Automatically, on Motzei Shabbos, when you take off challah from the challah which you forgot to eat, it's okay. You don't have to say it's mafraya. Automatically mafraya. That's all only in Chisluritz. Because the whole challah, mitzvahs of challah is only shlo t'shtakach toiru in Yisrael. And at Yisrael, if such a thing happens, you are stuck. Which I had, such a thing when I was living in Yisrael. I had a neighbor who came and knocked on the door. Do you have some extra challah? I forgot to take challah. So you don't have the solution of leaving over a piece for Motzei Shabbos. You cannot do that. And you cannot eat it. It's mitzvah. Challah becomes mitzvah. You cannot do anything with the challah. So now it's the challah mitzvah. So that's the chilek of Eretz Yisrael in America, even though both are midrabunan. But since in Eretz Yisrael is the mitzvah's challah midaraisa, be'ikaron, the ikra midaraisa, Chisluris be'ikra is not midrabunan. So therefore there's a chilek from Eretz Yisrael and Chisluris. Where is our problem in such a scenario when Erev Shabbos falls like this year? The thing, yeah, Erev Shabbos falls. Shabbos falls Erev Pesach, and you forgot to take challah, then you cannot leave over challah for Motzei Shabbos because then it's Pesach, it's Chometz. Then is the trouble. But when we see, das is the chilik zwischen Etzerun and Afilas Drabunan. So again, even in Etzerun, it's a Drabunan, and even in Chitz Leuris, also you give challah mid Drabunan. What? But the bakeries are baking challah, and they can also forget. Now, since it's a mitzvah esse derabonan, you make a bracha when you have the shiur, as we're going to discuss the shiur. When you have the shiur, you make a bracha like all the mitzvahs esse derabonans. Ashikudishur b'mitzvahs v'tzvuni lahafish challah achala min ha'isa. That's a different subject. Aber akaponam lamaisa is you macht a bracha so wie mitzvahs esse derabonan. Okay, now on one you have to give challah. A pialocha, and that's how this is the final. As you give challah only on chamaishes minedugim, only the 5 minedugim, only on that you give challah, which is chita, which is wheat, soyer is barley, koismin is spelt, sheboilet shul is oats, and shippen is rye. Only this 5 flour, this 5 type of flour, you give challah. Not only when it's separate, even when it's every individual, you make a challah from chito, you make a challah of rye. Even if you mix together rye or spelt or wheat, if you mix it together when it's flour, everything is matzaraf to the shiur, and you give challah for on this five flour. Flour, which is basically, but again, that's only when you mix it when it's flour. When you mix it, when you have already a dough, that's a separate halacha which we're going to get Mi'etz Hashem in the further shiurim. It's a whole separate halacha. If you have two doughs, one is from rye, one is from wheat, and you don't want to mix it together. Which one gets? You don't have the shear. You want to make a tziruf. Which one is matzarav? That's a separate halacha. But when it is flour, all the five flours will mix together and for shir challah. When you have a flour which is from rice, cornflakes, all other kind of flours, is potter fin giving challah. So I had more than once people ask me if people making their own rice cakes and this kind of things. If people wanted to know, or there is cornbread, all these things is mitzad halucha nish mechiyev kachala, and there's nish tu kan hit it's mafresh challah. Only the 5 grains you take challah, nothing else. Other is put in challah. When you have challah which is take gluten free, you have challah which is gluten free. They took out the gluten. Every challah has wheat, especially has a lot of gluten, which is basically the thing which makes it should become chometz. So you took out the gluten. Is it mechiyev b'challah or not? So lamaisa, the halucha lamaisa is that you should take challah only without a bracha. You cannot make a bracha. Why? Because there's a big machloikas in Yerushalmi. Machloikas Rishonim. Yerushalmi connects challah to matzah. We know halacha matzah you can be yoytze mitzvah deraisa matzah only from a matzah which is efshel l'schamas. It could become chometz. A thing which could not become chometz is minish yoytze. For instance, a challah, a matzah which is made with my payir is minish yoytze the mitzvah because it cannot be chometz. My payir is ain't a mitzvah. What is if you have a flour which could not get chometz? Then minish yoytze the matzah. Kim the Yerushalmi, and he connects challah, the hilchos matzah. So again, in order to be mechayev challah, has to be a grain, has to be flour which could become chometz. Which will become chometz, yeah. Now, what? Everybody has some gluten. Everything has, that's why it becomes chometzdik. No, it doesn't have that, it has a little bit, and therefore the people who have a problem with gluten. Now, when you took out the gluten, is a machlokes Rishonim of if sikenve. I think what does it mean? Is this the bean could become chumetz, or the matzis has to become chumetz? That means if you have a mean chita, which is the mean is a thing which becomes chumetz, can become chumetz. This chita itself I cannot take become chumetz because I took out the gluten. But sof kol sof, the mean is shemechiyah chumetz. So is it okay? Is it mechiyah b'matzah v'challah or not? So lamasa, this is machlokes Rishonim. Some Rishonim hold that has to be a mean which is mechiyah challah, which should become chumetz. And if it's the mean which become chumetz, then I don't care if this itself cannot become chumetz. And some Rishonim say no, you cannot. Has to be the zachar line has to be chumetz, become chumetz. One of the rais which one of the Rishonim say is we see the halacha is if you have chita which is boiser, which is not ripe already, which could not become chumetz, is dort legabadem dort stay dort das bekenne shoyts on the mitzvahs matzah. So we see stavs on the zachar even though it's chita. A kapurim this is machlokes Rishonim. So since machlokes Rishonim, zogen da chroines maraini. As you shouldn't, you should make challah, you should take challah, but you shouldn't take challah with a bracha, you should take challah without a bracha. What is the shiur with mechiyev b'challah? As we mentioned, the Torah says that b'v'yachem eleores, when you come to Yisrael, you have to give challah. What is the shiur challah? Lein chazal arup, azoivi, the same much amount as you had to give when you were basically in Midbar. How much was in Midbar? Ha'oimer asiris waifi. Asiris waifi, and we all learned chitas in Parashas Beshalach. Rashi brings down what is achsiris eifer, mem gimel beitzem, the chomish beitze, we have 43 beitzem with a little bit more, with the 1/5 of a beitze. That is the shear of mizbechiv b'challah. So whenever you make a dough which has this shear, mem gimel beitzem and the chomish, das is mechiv b'challah. And that has to be flour, this amount. You don't take the water, we don't take the eggs which you put in. It has to be flour, this amount. How do you make a cheshem, such a thing? And it goes, by the way, by the nefach. It does not go with the mishkal. We are calculating it by the mishkal, by the weight. But it doesn't go by the weight. It goes by the how do you say nefach? By the volume. So how do you measure the volume? Is the Tur brings down two ways. The Alter brings down only one. But the Tur brings down two ways how you measure the volume. First, or you take a pot, you put in 43 beitzem inside. You take a pot which is full of water. Yeah, you put underneath. You put a plate or a bowl, and you put in 43 eggs into the water, and all the water which comes out, that's the amount of 43 eggs. Yeah, if you have a pot which is full all the way to the top, and every time you put in an egg, it will overflow and go out. How much will it go out? The shear of a bite. So therefore, when you put in 43 eggs in that pot with a little bit more, and it overflows, the water which overflowed, that's mem gimel beitzem. The Alter Rebbe goes a different shear in Hilchos Pesach. Alter Rebbe Tov Nim Vuv. Alter Rebbe says that you take a pot, fill it up till the top, then pour. You have a 5 quart pot, yeah. Then take another 5 quart pot, fill it up till the top. Take the put in another pot, which is also 5 quart. Put in 43 eggs inside. Then pour from this pot, which is full. Put in the water as much as in the other pot, which has the eggs, till it fills on top. All the water which stays in the first pot is 43 eggs. Much easier way. What?
Same shear.
Same shear. Yeah, it's only same shear, a different method. Exactly. And then the Torah brings down both. You can do all like this or this. Alter Rebbe, for other reasons, I don't know why, brings only the second part, because it's much easier, basically. It's the same shear, exactly. But then the Alter Rebbe writes, an interesting nachazach, the Torah says, you put in 43 eggs, the Alter Rebbe likes, and you put a little bit more, because it has to be chomesh beitze. So therefore, is the Alter Rebbe added on. Okay. What?
The eggs are with the shell or without?
With the shell. Regular binary egg box. But Lamasa, although it goes by the nefach, the poskim medium, beinanus. Although clear, steht clear in Rambam, this has beinanus. Al kapunim, that's the shear of mem gimel beitza. Now, since people cannot make the cheshbon every time they make the cheshbonis, so they made the cheshbonis how much it is in weight. But when it comes to weight, it's a little tricky. Because after all, we go after value, we don't go after weight. So you have different flour. You have flour which is more light. So if it's more light, this value will have less flour than you have. For instance, wheat is more heavier than spelt. So in spelt, you need a less shear of challah in order to be mechiva bracha than chita. Because the value of spelt, the value which we need mem gimel beitzem will be lower. But akapunim, the mass will be going according to the weight, which the measurement, because that's much easier basically to make a cheshbon. So what is the shear of giving challah? And it's kedai to write down or something, because this is constantly, we want to keep on asking this question over and over again till you all write it down on a paper, on a sheet. Now the luch is azoy. So there's a lot of shirim. There's a lot of shirim in the poskim. But always with ganze machloikas, if you have to take, still goes by the volume, so you have to squeeze it together or not squeeze it together. So when we all know X amount, you have to make without a bracha, this with a bracha. Why? With a bracha? What is that? That is because you have a lot of shirim. Second of all, we have machloikas. If you go, you push it, squeeze it together, take out all the air. If not, take it all. So there's a lot of machloikas. So therefore, the chroinam gemacht two cheshbon of two shirim. One shir is when you have that amount, you make a bracha. That's shir challah. One is less als mesufik. You take challah. So is es mitzvah esse. Akapunem der Rabunen oder der Reise, wenn es bis man was Shabbos Mikdash, bis man dabei ist. Aber Akapunem, sof, you take off without a bracha. So what is the shear? Shear is, again, I'm going to get to Lamaisa, is Azoi. The meaning Lamaisa is from wheat, again, I'm talking now from wheat, to make a bracha, if you have 1.666 grams of flour, which translate in our, one kilogram, and 666 grams. There's 1,666 grams, which is basically a kilogram with, which in our, what?
1 2/3.
Yeah, which comes in our language in pounds, it's 3.66 pounds. Whenever it's 3.6, you make already a brocha. Again, I'm talking according to Chaim no Shiurim. I'm not going to go to Chazanish. You can go according to Chaim no Shiurim, which is the Shiurim, which is was Makibel all the doiras till the Chazanish relied on the Noid Bida. Akapurim does 3.66. You make a brocha. When it is less than this, once it is 2.64 pounds, which is again 1,200 grams to make it. In grams it's 1,200, or in pounds it's 2.64, then you should make a froshes challah, but without a brocha. Don't make a brocha, al sufik brochas. Less than that, you don't need to make a brocha. So if you make challah dough, this is a question which we have constantly today's day, because people make one challah dough, sourdough, which you make one piece, and you don't have a shir challah, you don't have to take challah. If you make more, you put it together, you make that's something else. Although you bake it separate in the extra pots, but you put it together, make it tzirif, then you take challah. But if not, only you make Erev Shabbos one sourdough, is, if it doesn't have the shear, you're not machiyev to, what? You gotta ask the ladies. They look at the cookbook, yeah, they have figured it out. It goes with cups, yeah.
What's the shear without a bracha?
Without a bracha is 2.64 pounds, 1,200 grams. Now again, this came a chita. When it comes to now, when we have whole wheat, everything is a part of it's considered a part of the flour, because it was never taken out. There are bakeries, again, this is more for commercial, they take out the flour, they take out the subm, they take out the whole grain, whatever, they clean it, and then they add it on, they mix it together. Even the matzah bakeries do that. They play around with the whole wheat. It's not spashit. Such a case, we don't consider what you put back, we don't consider a chalik of flour. Then you have to have flour itself, it's not sheira. But as long as you didn't divide it, whole wheat flour, regular whole wheat flour, even whatever is inside is part of the wheat, and that's part of what we consider of the shir challah. What? Usually, they're not going to do it. Only bakeries do it because they play around on taste. Why every matzah bakery has a different taste? That's the reason why. Although it's the same flour and the same water. All are Brooklyn water and all are the same flour. Except if you take Arizona or Long Island. Okay. But the chelik is the spiel zecharim with the soup. It's the art itself. Al kaponim, das is the shirim, which is mechir b'challah. But again, as I mentioned before, since whole wheat automatically, which we didn't take out the subim, automatically is the weight and the value is not the same as regular chita. So over there, you take challah b'loi bracha by 1150 grams, which is 2.5 pounds. Whole wheat, you should take without a bracha from 2.5. You shouldn't wait 2.64, because over there, the value versus the mishkal changes, because it's lighter. So therefore, it changes ochet in the shirim of the shirim giran challah. What?
You messed up the shear of how much for kadais matzah.
No. There's the shear of challah.
You said the matzah bakery to the soup, it comes out, you have to have more matzah. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Shine. Good. Yeah.
If you have the shear which is 80%, you take a suffix with
then you have another batch, and then you put them all in one cleat. You now have to take it with a bracha because
No, you can't take it with a bracha. Why? You took out challah already.
the thing is that because of your topic,
No.
so that there's also something that there was covered before, so we took out not.
Okay.
So now you're
So you can't make a bracha with a bracha.
Do you have to take again?
If you make it tziruf, you could go. If you make it tziruf, if you put it together.
So then if you make the two batches,
Ich will kommen to them in future shiurim of the inshallah. But how much you have to take off? How much you have to take off from challah? Is be'etzam is auch du 20 the challah which used to be challah today's day used to be when kahana were tohirim used to give it for a challah. Mikra din again. You have to give challah because not because eicher b'mem ches or eicher b'chovdalet. So a nafkemen is for balabais or a bakery. A bakery can take one piece of 48 a part of the dough. In a balabas should give one of chovdalet. The master is the mechaber zukt since today's day we don't give it for we don't eat it. So therefore we should give a kazais. The master ikra din apialocha if you take out today's day a drop is mayoytze the mitzvah challah. Even if you didn't take off a kazais. The master the mu in self of sibbe chov bais sif dalat zukt aber minik von a hagen am nemt auf a kazais. Ob ikra din if you take off a drop is es oge genik to take it. So the guys when you go to matzah bakeries, when you have a big, you take off a piece of matzah, it's not a kazais. It's not a kazais. Because in a matzah, in order to be a kazais, it has to be bigger. But again, the reason is, because the matzah, chotchik the music the minig is, but mikra it's going to today's day when you don't give it for the kohen, so therefore, you take off any drop, and that should be fine. And thus again, noch mit der Musik des Kurs, immer Schicht auf Beis, sie Dalle Agaf, just want to make clear, if somebody wants to take the lochas, it's Yeredeya, Chayle Gimel, finish Sima Schicht auf Beis, bis all the way bis Shien Lamat. Over there is Cheschala, if you want to learn the inside, it's Geschmack, hard, but Geschmack. Na Kapunam, das is das.
Isn't now the matzah design?
Wenn sich welche Matzahs? Yeah, when which big ones, small ones, mediums, but they don't take half a matzah when they take challah. Yeah, it's too expensive. Shvorim you pay a lot, so you take up a piece.
don't take from the full life anyway.
What?
Don't take from the full life anyway.
Finde?
Full life.
If you can take from the kvuras, yeah, okay. Okay, what are you doing with the challah? What do you do with the challah? You took a challah. What do you do with it? It's be'etzam. As I mentioned before, challah is one of the chovdalet matnas kehina. It's one of the matunas which you have to give for a kohen. A kohen has to eat it b'tahara. Challah is nechel b'kohen b'tahara. Has to be tor. B'zmaneinu, we don't have challah which is tohira. We don't have a kohen which is tor. So therefore, the kohen, mikra you have to give it for the kohen. So achiv to give it for the kohen. And he could use it not for Hanuas Hagiv, but Hanuas for his own. If he wants to put it in his oven because he doesn't have enough wood, fireplace wood, he could put in over there the challah and he burns it. Hat nicht kein Hanuas fin Hanuas Hagiv, he doesn't eat it, but he could have all kind of Hanuas. That is the lucha how you could do that. That's the lucha mikra din which you have to give for a kohen. But Manayim again that we are all tamayimais. Oz the kahanim tamayim. The chal is tuma. So therefore, the kahanim are makpatanit. They don't need it. Adrab, if you're going to take the chal of the coin, he's going to throw it back to you. It's like you give him a bachor. You have a bachor, a behemoth. You give it for the coin. He's in trouble. So therefore, since they're not makpat, steht in der Poskim, no die Bide, mit andere Chroinem, no die Bide in Tshiva, hat Tshiva in Tanine, Simmeraish Allah, Challah of the Hilchas Challah, in the says, today's day, we don't have to give it to the Kohen, they're not makpat, and a Yid should lekitchila burn the Challah. And he should burn it, because again, the Kohen doesn't need it. When a Yisrael takes it and burns it, he cannot have a no. The Kohen could have a no, because it belongs to him, says Matnas Kehena. He cannot eat it because it's tama, but at least he could have a no, l'sraifa. A Yisrael, when he makes a fire wants to burn it, he cannot have a noah. So if he wants to use it for his fireplace in order to warm himself up, so therefore he cannot do that. And that's why the Ramur writes in Sifai, Shinchuf by Sifai, that you should make hamadira bifnei atzmo. You make a bandira bifnei atzmo, a separate fire, out in the backyard, or you leave it for Pesach. We're going to see a minute if you leave it till Pesach. And therefore, you make a madira bifnei atzmo. Other zug the Ramur, other solution, you want to bake, you could first burn it in your oven. You cannot bake while this is part of, because you have an oven in it. You first put it in the oven when you put it on the oven, and it gets burnt first, and afterwards you could bake already. And therefore it is a thing which you could do. Now, by the way, if you do it in your oven, which is not kedai, by the way, today's day you can have a lot of problems. If you don't put it in a bekel, if you don't put it in a silver foil, you could make treifa your oven. So the easiest solution is take it, give it to the kohen. The easiest solution is you take it, you wrap it with silver foil twice, and you put it in, or even once, good thick silver foil, you put it into oven, you put it on the oven and let it burn. Because it's not a thing which has dough is not considered a dover shiman. So therefore, habe ich kan zaya, habe ich kan all the problems. So then you could, the best thing would be put it in a silver foil and let it burn until it gets, you cannot eat it anymore, and that's the best thing, the best solution if a person. There's a whole business in Brooklyn that is a guy who had a special oven, and he advertises that he burns the mamash, it turns into mamash verbrennt ganzen, and every piece of challah takes only $1. So you have 25 pieces, you have $25, and therefore that's a business today's day. But akaponam, you don't need to do it. You can do it. What? If you did put it in your oven, you have to glee your oven at least the place where it is. Poskim zugang ganze shmis. That's why you don't have to make lieben gummer, because as I mentioned before, it's not a shuman. It's only it's gonna lieben kal. Again, it's not kai to do it only if you want to burn it in your oven. Take it, put it in a silver foil or in a bekel and do it. What? If you have a silver foil, you cover it well, then you don't have to kasher it, just burn it. Now, what is... It's osemanua. It's not right, it's osemanua. So, you have a blia in your oven, which is osemanua. If you have a piece of kleim, you burn it, you bake it in your oven. Does the oven become treife?
I guess I'm not looking at this straight.
It's not treif. Osebano. I didn't say it's treif. Kleim is nicht treif. Osebano. It's by the osser.
So if you burn on your stove.
On what?
You burn on the stove.
So you so you have to burn it and burn out. If you. Anyway, okay.
So on your stove is okay?
On the stove, it's a problem. But again, lo the Alter Rebbe, going back to the Pesach Shiur, the Alter Rebbe is machmar of the grades, which the Mishnah is Michael. He says automatically it gets burned out. The Alter Rebbe hat nicht galt, also halt mit dem Avrom. So and then you have to burn it out again if you have it without a silver foil. What is if a person cannot?
Have enough of the smell.
What kind of smell do you have? Bring challah smell.
It's the issue of burning it while you're baking only while.
Because you have a no. Only because of a no.
The old days, you throw it into the fire, that it makes the fire bigger. But now, if you put it in the oven, it's not making the oven any hotter.
No, but you have a blia. There are two problems. The one problem is you have a no. That's if you burn it when you bake something. That you cannot do in any case. You cannot burn it when you bake because you have a no. It gives more fire. Then the second problem is it gives a blia in the oven. What? What? Oh, you're talking about hour of. Oh, we get a minute to hour of. Let's finish without questions. We get next segment. I'm getting to this. But I'm talking about how they used to burn like fire. So you have one log of wood. You don't need, because you have pieces of isa. They used to do that. Today's day, we don't do that. Now, there's a Noidebid writes, you could not do what we do. A lot of our people, we take challah every week. You put it in the freezer in a bag, which says on it challah, or in a container which doesn't have challah, and it's come Erev Pesach, or before Pesach, you take it out, you let it out from the freezer, because if not, it's not going to burn. You make a fire, and you burn it well. That's the way how most people do. Again, Mitzrayim is chumatz. Okay. Yeah, a lot of people do Mitzrayim is chumatz. So now, Noidibida says you cannot do that. Because when you take a piece of dough, you put it in your freezer 1 week, and another week, Homer in Tzachshash, that you're going to take it and use it for your lasukah. You're going to use it for the baking. You're going to use it to a long winter. You need some coal. You're going to use it for coal. So you cannot do it. You have to burn it right away. The paskas, you have to burn it right away because you cannot keep it as anat kula. Lamas lachroines manayni kimun unzedei nikidens natanan by us. We don't have this issue because nobody takes dough to use for his baking or for his hasoka. So therefore, zug nachroinam, if you're putting it in a place, in a bag which says challah, then it's okay. You have to make a zach, you shouldn't come to atkola. That's correct, because you shouldn't get mixed up with other doughs, and you can use it by mistake. Some people freeze dough in order to next week to bake it. So maybe it's going to get connected with other doughs. Achshash tekula. But if you make it such a case, there's not achshash tekula, it's not a problem. Also wir sind nach Röhr gesagt, nicht wie der Neue Bide. Aber der Neue Bide, habe ich geschrieben, bei meiner ins nehmen ja on the killer, that today's day, basically you could put it away, as long as it's written, it's challah, and you could burn it once a year. Going back now to your shaila, and today's day, which we don't have a problem of the moisture on asuka. The only problem is, if you put it on your oven, is the oven becomes strife from the bliss, from the challah. That's the only problem. And over then, if you that's why I said you wrap it, you have a bakeler.
Could you wrap it and bake your challah at the same time as
why not? Okay. Why not? You could. Yeah. Now, what is the a shaila, which is a common shaila? People want to know, what can I take it and throw it in the garbage? This is a question which is a question which I had a lot of times. I wrote once in Biuris Abirim Hol Arichas, and then the kid said is it possible that I should just throw it in the garbage? And the answer to this is like this: the Mizrach Shoinem Rasha in Toisvus, why you have to burn the challah. According to Rasha says two reasons, but Rasha says like this: why you have to burn the challah? Because if you're not going to burn it, people will find it, will eat it, your dog will eat it, your cat will eat it, and that's why you shouldn't add. Rasha, as was ikri kodesh, na so wie kodesh do mitzvah zu verbrennen, so therefore is do mitzvah zu verbrennen. Toisvus auf dem Platz, dann sagt im Suchem, Toisvus brings down Rasha, and Rasha says the whole reason why you shouldn't use it is because of Tkola. So if you take it and you throw it in the garbage, or if you use makaver, it's not a problem. So Toisvus says no, ich bin nicht maskem, and it's also the same. There's a mitzvah esser to burn terima, which is toma. Same as a mitzvah esser to burn kodesh, which is became toma. Same as a mitzvah esser to burn things which is karbonos, which has become toma. So therefore, there's a mitzvah. It's called kodesh, and therefore there's a mitzvah to burn. So Toisvus to do in Rasha, kili as Rasha tam is ikik takula, nicht als kodesh. Rasha bringt the kodesh, aber ikik tam we name Toisvus disagree. What? Ja, sagt ja. Aber bis kodesh ist geworden toma. Nein, aber Chazal haben wir weggestellt der Mitzvah für Challah. Macht der Bruch, hat die Schuhe mit Zeus bezogen. Ist das jetzt Challah? Jetzt ist Challah Schnitme. Challah Schnitme ist du am Mitzvah. Fein, aber ich bin Masken, verwusst Chazal haben wir weggestellt, ist eine Geier. Sagen wir aber weggestellt, sagen wir überlegt, Achiev, das ist Achiev Challah. Die erste Unchallah ist das gegessen Tevel. So hat Rabunen die Challah. So hat Rabunen die Tevel. Jetzt haben sie gesucht, als hat Ding Koidisch mit Rabunen. Koidisch in Rabunen, darf man es verbrennen. Und also ich schreibe Toisvus. Toisvus sagt, das mit Tourisch wegwerfen, man darf es verbrennen. Aber Rasche kommt aus, als man kann es, bei Gruben, sie nicht gar mit, sie nicht gerade zu verbrennen, fürs Reife. Lamaase the Achroinam in Shechanurich Streitstreif. Shechanurich in Yadai is immer Schienchut. Beis, Siv Dalad Machaber, Zug Machaber Zurich Sorfoi, in the Remu in Siv Haya. The next Siv in the Remu Zug the Zurich Sorfoi, and the Streit Sorfoi. But my living name is the Ketchila, if a person can burn it, then he should burn it. Well, also is Streit Shechanurich in the Remu. But Lamaase the Achroinam Zugen, Zeigt sich in der Ravat hat the Shiva, and he says clear, he idna shekilim tamayim, ein neus lehem trima, loy tohoy mai veloy tohoyra, v'soir von oisoi, oi mashlicho le ibad. Also das was clear. Oi mashlicho le ibad, b'mukum shel Yehuda et kula. Shivas van Hugas, for Moshe Sternbach, heilig alaf siman tufrash ein, there's a guy in Yisrael wanted to make a whole bill, in Yisrael, let me tell you a secret, in Yisrael, most people do not burn it. In America, verbrennt man es. In America is the meaning, most people burn it. And that's why it goes our business, verbrennt challah. And in Yisrael, most of the people throw it in the garbage. So there was a guy who wanted to make a whole balagan, I'm telling them the fact. I don't know, maybe kvachabar nicht, but the Shleima, nobody burns, don't shka fires in the challah. Well, only flags. Yeah. Yeah, but they can't use it for the challah for the flag because they have manua for the challah. Hat einige wollt machen a ganze Balagan, you have to, tu nicht, man darf verbrennen challah. And he writes the whole thing, geht around the whole sigya, and sucht, as bismanayni chalas chisle uretz, will suchen ein behem din koidish, and the ikir is show you that like tekula, and therefore you should wrap it around 2 times, and you can throw it away. Azoi pasken the Chelkes Yankov, azoi pasken the Marie Steif, the Steif in Amerika, alle paskenen azoi, as oi me ken, en ich ze nicht schreibt doch azoi, me ken ich tritt verbrennen, oi so a bissel schwer oder im Hotsch kann das, kannst es rappen, doppel rappen, mit Waffen in garbage. The Mechasitzchog, he comes with a twist, which is a geschmack, das. Looks off gesoff, ich sage mal weggestellt, das ist als Koidisch, as ist Challah. In es ist Koidisch, it's a mitzvah of the burning Challah. So how could you just throw it away? Bis man wartet la mitzvah from burning. So the Mechasitzchog, that there's a chief for a Marie Osad, he wants to say that the mitzvah of Sreif is only when it's a Kezais. Mitzvah when it's a Kezais. Meine Kezais, du kannst mitzvah finden. Jede mitzvah ist Kezais, Meile, ohne Kezais. Ota, so fing in dem, aber akapunem. So the Mechasitzchog, when you take off Challah, machat nai, and say like this. If I'm gonna find a place where I could burn it, then the whole thing is Challah. If I'm not going to find a place where to burn it, so only Pochas Mekezayas is going to be Challah, and the rest is not Challah. Now you can burn it. Now you can throw it away, because it's less than a Kezayas, and then you have no issue as even though you should wrap it double wrapping, and you should throw it away. Elamasa, Vadi Yosef, Chazon Vadi writes also, Challah Pochas Mekezayas, it's ungenehm kikt zu mich sitzen, also klur Challah Pochas, heinte der Jurzad, ja, gerecht, ja, Gimel Cheshbon, also wie der Regional in the Marils. And so darf man reden suchen, so ist da was. Sucht auch, man soll machen Pochas Mekezayas, in warf es weg. No, der Mechasitzchog macht also at nai. Take more than Kezayas, because he wants to be Yoitza. I want to say, no, Pochas Mekezayas. And some of the free gered by the Locha, that Mikra Dim Bezman Azeh, since his stomach, you can take out a drop, a mashi even. So therefore, sucht Avadi Ochet, take off Pochas Mekezayas, wrap it, and throw it in the garbage. In La Masa, a lot of people today, which have an issue, they can, today can't verbrennen. You could burn it, take Erev Paisa by the Birchum. But the problem for Erev Paisa is another thing. The problem with Erev Paisa is, you throw it in, and it's not hot enough. Especially in New York, when the fire department comes 5 minutes later, and, Kim to us as La Masa, has es sich verbrennt. Is es nachal through Lachile? Kann ich alles kommen hinten essen? Kann ich rauskommen nach der Kula? So therefore, in such a case, the what? Okay, this is a hefker. So B'mayla Kaponim, in such a case, is a person does not have a place where to burn it. Is again, you can burn it or in your oven, when you wrap it with silver foil and burn it, or wrap it twice and throw it in the garbage. Yesh mukim lehukl oy medaf.
If you're wrapping it and putting it in the oven, It's burning from the heat, but not burning from the fire.
Okay, what's the difference? What's the difference? The challah is from bread. It's from bread.
The fact that it's becoming black.
Yeah, it's becoming bad. It's going black. Okay, we're going to stop here and maybe Imam Shafel Shem next week again.